From the Ivy to the SEC, we break it down bold. Every hoop, every stat, every storyline told. From the Big 12 battles to the Big East grind, we cover every matchup with a champion's mind. Predictions, picks, you know we bring.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 236. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton, and I hope you enjoyed. We're tinkering around with some AI sounds here for some new intro songs. Kind of like that one. AI is still a work in progress, but we will eventually get an intro video for those obviously watching live on the Twitter and the YouTube page. But welcome to episode 236. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton, and making his return, surprising to me, but very, very happy to officially kick off, officially kick off year number 8 here at ECB. We had to go back to the old school. Peyton is back on the show. Brother, it is good to I know your camera, you got to get a new one or whatever, but it's good to have you back, and it's great. I mean, great with a capital G to have college basketball back.
Let's fucking go, baby. New season, new me. I'm back. We're back. Let's go. Ha ha! College basketball's back, baby. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. For those who don't know, we spent like the good second part of work today, me, you, and our buddy Johnny, just listening to Gus Johnson highlights. I mean, what better way to get ready for a college basketball podcast than to listen to Mr. He hit on the parking lot.
Who left the barbecue in the back? Dude, we talked about it at work. Gus Johnson is my favorite announcer in any sport ever of all time. He brings the energy, he brings the passion. You just cannot tell me that he's not one of the GOATs. He is absolutely my favorite. I love when he does football, when he does Big Ten for Fox, and when he does Big East for college basketball and stuff like that. Miss him doing these big tournament games. He is my GOAT. I love him. He's fucking awesome.
Dude, God bless him. I'm sure he's got a wonderful contract with Fox. He's the lead for their big, usually Big 10, but Big 12 game. College football, he does basketball still. But, man, I do miss him for the NCAA tournament. Especially, could you imagine, with Jim Nance retired. Last year was his first year out of the seat. And I love Ian Eagle. I think Ian Eagle is a tremendous broadcaster for sports. He's got that great, booming, typical announcer voice. But, man, could you imagine if Gus Johnson would have stayed? That probably is his role. And you pair him with Grant Hill and you pair him with Bill Rafferty. Dude, it would turn the best event in sports into even more of a spectacle with that big booming voice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he knows his shit, too. It's not just the presentation and the pageantry that he brings to college basketball and college football. He knows his shit. He knows how this game operates. He knows the in and outs of college basketball and obviously college football, too. He's been doing this for so damn long. I miss him in the tournament. And, yeah, dude, we've got enough personalities in the tournament with, the Van Gundys, Grant Hill. Ian Eagles does a great job hosting the tournament now, hosting the Final Four in the national championship game. Robbie Hummel is now doing the tournament, his first time upcoming for this season, so I'm excited for that. I think Robbie Hummel does great stuff. Great work, but, dude, I miss Gus Johnson. I want more Gus Johnson.
Yeah, I do too, and I wish, we see it all the time anymore since we're on this topic about crossovers. What was it? The first NBA Cup a couple years ago, ESPN and TNT did a crossover where you had Shaq, Ernie, Kenny, and Charles with Stephen A. and all of them. Dude, we should just do that for college basketball. CBS, ESPN, Fox, work it out so we can have the most all-star cast possible of luminaries, announcers, analysts to cover the greatest tournament in all of sports, the best sporting event in all of sports.
Yeah, I agree. One of the coolest moments that happened this year so far in college football was week 1, Ohio State versus Texas. Lee Corso's final game day pick. Obviously, ESPN Game Day, it's obviously on ESPN exclusively. But when before noon, but before the game started, and he's doing everybody's getting excited for him. They had him at the center of the field, Ohio State Stadium. He's about to make his game day pick. I think it was Fox. The game was actually going to be on Fox. It was a hosted by a Big Ten team. So the game was on Fox. So the Fox program was there live streaming it, or streaming it to everybody, obviously. And they literally showed him making his pick on their actual television, even though it's an ESPN type deal. It was a cool ass crossover that I thought was really cool. I want to see more of that. I want the energy back in college basketball. I think we desperately need it, and there's some other stuff that we need as well. There's some stuff that we definitely don't need, and that's expanding the tournament, but that's another topic for another day, I guess. But yeah, dude, Gus Johnson's one of my goats. Dick Vitale is one of my goats. We were watching some of his shit today as well. I love these old-time guys that have been doing it for so long that still, to this day, has the energy for it, and they have the passion for it, and I love it.
No, it certainly makes it the word I like to use is pageantry. And the tournament, we love it because of the pageantry. We love the build-up. That's why so many of us who love this sport get so excited for a 1-hour program on not a random, but a certain Sunday in the early to mid part of March, because we love to see, like, oh my God, this team's in, this team's out. Oh my God, they put this team here, because it's an event. It is pageantry. It's a show, and we love that. And if we could get all of the greatest commentators and voices of this sport together, then I just think it would make it better. But shout out our guy, Gus Johnson. Shout out the legend, Dickie V. We'll talk, I'm sure, a little Dickie V coming up on episode 236 on this first Thursday of the season here let me explain that real quick. For new people that are tuning in, giving us a chance for the first time, during the course of the season, we do 2 shows. We'll do one on Thursday to kind of wrap up the midweek, everything that's happened from Monday until now, and preview the big games of the week. And Sunday is our big show where we talk about what happened. Usually the biggest games of the week are on the weekend, and then we look ahead to the early part of the next week. So this is kind of the format. This is the first Thursday show of the season. Peyton, I can't believe, honestly, can you believe, the season started back on Monday. We are already 3 full nights of college basketball in our systems. And before you know it, you blink, we're going to be in March. Me and you will be at the OVC tournament covering for the, 4th year in a row. And then this thing will be over with before you know it. Once it starts, it goes quick.
Oh, absolutely. We've been waiting for this day ever since Florida won the national championship last year, going through the offseason, all the transfer portal talk, all the recruits coming in late, rosters getting filled out as we speak, day by day, trying to find out what's going to happen. Obviously, both of our teams, we got some significant injuries. People, JQ for Kentucky was obviously transferred into Kentucky, was injured at his last stop. Case in point, tore his ACL last season for Louisville. We've been keeping an eye out on that, which we'll talk about more later on in the show, I'm sure. But dude, you blink and all of a sudden we're in fucking February, about to heading into March. Conference tournaments about to start. Regular season title races are intensifying day by day, week by week. And dude, I'm excited. I'm excited for March, but one thing I'm not excited for, one thing I'm definitely not going to do is, even though it's November, I'm definitely not putting my March Madness lights up. Not until it's March. So listen, that's my big pet peeve. We're in November. It's Thanksgiving season. We ain't in Christmas giving season just yet. So that's a shout out to Johnny Stroud. He'll pop for that one.
Let's go ahead and get into it. And by the way, shout out Johnny. Shout out everybody who follows us and listens to us here. Normally the trajectory is early season while people start football in mind. We kind of start a little slow, and then as the season really progresses, we get deep in here. I'm trying to share this video on our Twitter here. But let's go ahead and talk, Peyton. We opened up this calendar year back on Monday, November 3rd, and right out the gates, we had some really good games beginning at 8 a.m. Shout out to the Field of 68 for putting on a really good opening day marathon across 2 different sites, one in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and 3 more games out in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And we started with that, and it culminated at the nighttime out in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we saw a ranked matchup between number 3 in the ECB Top 25, the Florida Gators, and number 17, the Arizona Wildcats. And what an incredible performance by freshman sensation Koa Pete. Drops 30 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, a block. And how about this, Peyton, in today's modern age, 30 points, no 3-point attempts. The Wildcats take down the defending champs 93-87. What a way to kick off college basketball.
Yeah, this is a game that I was very excited to watch. Obviously, the defending champs playing a very good, very underrated squad coming into this year. I think a lot of people would sleep on in Arizona. They brought back a couple of their starters from last year. Obviously, Jaden Bradley was a significant starter from last year's team that did pretty well. High expectations for him coming out into this game. He had 27 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. He had a plus-minus of 8. Shot 64% from the field. So he had a very good game himself. But yeah, dude, I'm going to go ahead and mention it because when we're talking about the freshmen that was coming into this year, the people that you think, the people that you immediately list off is A.J. DeBonster from BYU, Darian Peterson from Kansas, Mikael Brown Jr. from Louisville, Cam Boozer from Duke. All these high-level freshmen, Nate Ament from Tennessee, Jasper Johnson for Kentucky. You know who wasn't getting talked about enough is
Koa Pete.
And he comes out day one, had a monster dunk. I forgot who he dunked on, but his arm was like halfway above the rim. It was insane. Like his athleticism, the fact that he got 30 points, and not a single three in this era of college basketball is absurd. Arizona, even though it's game one, they looked extremely impressive, and I think they are very underrated, especially when we get into Big 12 play in the receiving months.
Well, Peyton, Koa Pete, for sure. Like when DeRosa and I did the Big 12 preview, we clearly talked about Koa Pete. When you look at his high school film, his body was the first thing that stood out. Like you don't find high schoolers that have the definition and kind of the muscle mass that he does already as a senior in high school. A lot of times these high-level kids come in and they look like high school kids. They've been able to get away with it because they're taller, faster. I mean, I'm not saying that a lot of these kids don't have strength and functionality, but Koa Pete, when you looked at him, he looked like he could have played linebacker for the Arizona Wildcats football team. He's got that type of body frame. And again, 30 points against the defending reigning national champions, not to mention 30 points, but he did it against arguably the best front court in the nation with 3 returners off the national title team and a reserve in Micah Hanlogton, who has been with Florida for years at this point and part of that team that played or won a national title last year. So he didn't do it against scrubs. His face-up ability, and he did it without the three-point shot. He took exactly 0 3-point attempts. Everything he did was from the face-up, playing above the rim. That dunk you were talking about was filthy. And I just think it's kind of that speciality of it's your debut game. How many freshmen normally do you see in these type of environments? They have a decent game, but they got to work some kinks out. Koa Pete, 30 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals, and a block. He did everything. And then how about his point guard? Jaden Bradley gives 27 on 9 of 14 from the floor, 5 assists, 2 steals. Those two combined for 57 of Arizona's 93 points, Peyton. I thought Arizona, and again, you talk about modern college basketball, they took 5. That's right. 5 3-point attempts, made 2 of them for 40%. They put up 93 in the modern era with only 5 3-point attempts.
Yeah, that's an absurd stat, especially in this era of college basketball. A lot of people are getting 3-point, like 30 3-point attempts up max or minimum in this era of college basketball. It's crazy. But talking about Florida, you mentioned their front court. Yeah, we knew about how good Hall was. We knew how good Condon was coming into this day or coming into the season, especially with what they did last year for Florida, win the national title. But the guy that I was looking forward to, that I was curious on the transition from going to Arkansas to Florida, was Boogie Flan. And to me, he wasn't really ready for that moment. I don't think he played as well as he could have played. 31 minutes, 9 points, 4 boards, 3 assists. He did have 3 steals. I will give him that. I think defensively he did have a couple stops there. But overall, looking at this Florida team, and is game one, it's tough task to pin on somebody. Game one, you're playing a top 25 team in Arizona who's very underrated. But you look at the plus minus, like 7 guys on Florida is at least -4 on plus minus. Not an efficient night from them, and they still put up 87 points. I still like this Florida squad. I do think that's going to take them time to gel and really figure out what they want to do offensively.
No, I totally agree. And here's the thing. I think you bring up something I want to ask you about. And I think it's a good conversation starter. DeRosa and I, a few weeks ago, talking about the SEC and about Florida's hype around them. They were voted to win the league in the national, like the media poll for the SEC. They were predicted to win the conference, Kentucky second. But the question we both had is, Boogie Fland is a 1 for all intents and purposes, and so is Xavier Lee coming in from Princeton. Who is going to win when it's actually they're both on the floor, who's going to be that primary 1 spot? And I think it was pretty clear that if you just look at the stat line, especially, but look at the action from the other night, Boogie Fland, I think, took on a little too much of the role of initiator. He only took 9 shots in the game, 3 of 9 from the floor, 0 of 2 from the 3-point line, to your point, a -4 on the floor, which plus minus can be, I don't think it's the be-all, end-all. I think it's somewhat of a good indicator of a performance of the night, but I think it's a little skewed at times because Thomas Houck had 27 points, 5 assists, and he finished with a -12. Does that mean he played a bad game? I don't think so. Did he get scored on quite a bit? I think, yeah, and that's probably why his plus minus is where it's at. But Fland only 9 shots. 3 of 9 from the floor, only took 2 3-pointers. When you compare that to Xavier Lee, 5 of 17 from the floor, 3 of 11 from the 3-point line, shot 29.4%. To me, at least through one game against Arizona, I think Boogie needs to take more shots. I think they need to find a balance between Lee and Boogie Fland, maybe equal footing on shots. If one is hitting over the other, like let's say Xavier Lee, instead of 5 of 17, let's say he was 8 of 17. And yeah, I think you justify him taking more shots. But he didn't have as much of an efficient game. Clearly more points, 14. Well, actually not more. He had 14 to Boogie Fland's 9. But what do you think about that? You have 2 out-and-out point guards for all intents and purposes. Both can shoot. Both are wired to score. But one takes almost double the amount of shots that the other one takes. And I don't think that's necessarily the recipe for success for this backcourt.
No, I think they're just going to, like I mentioned, they're going to have to figure out their identity offensively and who's going to actually play the point guard and who's actually going to look to score. I don't think they have a legitimate 1 on this team. I think Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee is both 2 guards, but one of them's going to have to play the 1. They have to shift positions. I don't really know. I think the reason why Arkansas struggled so much early on in SEC play is because they would try to pit Boogie Fland as the 1 and have DJ Wagner playing off ball. And then once, sucks, but once Boogie Fland got injured and he was out for an extended period of time, then they put DJ Wagner back to the 1. Then what happened? They started to win. Then Boogie Fland comes back in the postseason, and he's now playing more off ball, and they continue winning. They make a run to the Sweet 16, maybe could have made a run to the Elite Eight. I think Boogie Fland is better when he's playing off the ball. That way he can create more opportunities, and he can get himself open by setting whip screens, down screens, helping his guys with spacing. I think he's better as the 2. I think Xavier Lee needs to play the 1. But even then, I still don't know if I trust their guard play because, like I mentioned, they don't have a Walter Clayton running this offense anymore. They don't have an all-out number 1 that you can just trust to give the ball to, let him create, let him find mismatches. They don't have that this year, at least not at the moment. So that's something that I will monitor as we move along in the season.
One last thing on Florida. I thought, and he only got 11 minutes, but the freshman off the bench, CJ Ingram II, I thought he showed some stuff to me. I think he's got some shit to his game. 3 points, made a 3-pointer. He had a block, had an assist, all in 11 minutes. Finished with a plus minus of 2 in this ball game. But I think just watching him, he wasn't afraid of the moment, and I do think he has some shit to him. I think if you can continue to develop him off the bench, get more confidence, of course, more seasoning as all freshmen need, I think that is a dude that they're going to count on to be kind of that scoring threat and spark off the bench to really help the backcourt depth, because there are going to be games like Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee, both 31 minutes each. they're going to play the chunk minutes in the backcourt, but there's going to be games where maybe they're not as good, or obviously one's in foul trouble, or maybe even both's in foul trouble. And you're going to need Urban Clavshar. You're going to need CJ Ingram. You're going to need some of your other guards off the bench to really give you a spark. And even though he only had 3 points, I liked what I saw to CJ Ingram in this game. I do think he's got some shit to him that's going to help Florida in the long run, not only this year, in the immediate future, but I think should he stay in college and, of course, stay in Florida, which we never know in today's age, I think that's a dude to watch for in future, like down the line for Florida. I think he's got some shit to his game. I want to talk about Arizona real quick. We talked about Koa Pete, 30 points, Jaden Bradley with 27. I talked a lot about this dude in our Big 12 preview when we talked about Arizona. Ivan Karchenkov, German kid, watched him in highlights play in the FIBA U, I think it was the U18s, and just tore Turkey up. I mean, I really like what I saw on tape. And in his first collegiate game, 34 minutes, 12 points, 10 rebounds, a plus 14, made both of his 3-point shots, went perfect from the foul line, 3 of 9 from the floor. I really, really like what I see from Karchenkov. I think that dude is a big, strong, international kid that's going to give them an outside threat that won't be bullied and has really shown kind of that international flair of being crafty to get to the rim. I think there is a lot to like about this Arizona team when you throw in Pete, Bradley, Karchenkov, Krivas, 26 minutes, the big man in the middle, 6 points, 8 rebounds. Del Orso came off the bench, gave him 8. Everybody knows he's a 3-point sniper. Braden Burry's their star freshman, their other star freshman that they're really excited about. 16 minutes, he 3 points. It wasn't the scoring performance. He'd probably be fouls out of this game. Foul trouble cost him early. And then Toby Awaka, everybody remembers him from his time at Tennessee and then last year with Arizona. Undersized forward, but comes in, tough as hell, defender, 7.5 rebounds. Peyton, I think Arizona has really good depth as of now. I think they've got the ability to shoot, even though they only took 5 threes, they made 2 of them. But I just think they're going to be a problem. 38 free throw attempts in this game, 31 of 38 for 81.6%. I just think they're going to be big. They're going to be physical. And I do think the shooting from the outside based upon opponent will obviously, the volume will go up. And I do think the volume of makes will go up. I just think Arizona is in a really good spot right now to contend with Houston in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned at the start of the topic that I think Arizona coming into this year was very underrated, very underwhelming. I think they have a legit chance to knock off Houston in the Big 12. If not, definitely finish top 3. Can potentially be a top 3 seed heading into March this year. I think this Arizona squad has a little mixture of everything. The fact that they won this game, they put up 93 points and only shot 5 threes, and they only hit 2 of them. That just tells me that they don't need to shoot a bunch of threes or hit a bunch of threes to win ball games. They can do it in a multitude of different ways. They're tough-minded. They can get after you defensively. They can hit shots when they need to. But more importantly, they can just attack you downhill and get you in foul trouble. I like this Arizona squad. I'm a big fan of Toby Walker. I was a fan of him last year, and I was a fan of him at Tennessee. He's not a type of player that's going to stuff the stat sheet, but he's going to give you about 20 minutes per game. He's going to do all the right things, and he's going to have a very efficient night, as he did against Florida. So I'm a big fan of Toby Walker. Jaden Bradley is a stud, and obviously Koa Pete is just ridiculously good, especially this early on in college basketball play. But big fan of Arizona. If you're a Florida fan, it's game 1. Don't worry about it. Just take your lumps, move on. You got bigger games coming up here soon, and you'll be fine. Trust me.
I was going to actually ask you that to finish out this game. Stock up or down on the Gators? Or kind of where it was? You can go up, down, or just stay at exactly where it was.
Well, here's the problem. I didn't rate them that high to begin with in the start of the season. I didn't think they were going – I thought they were going to be top 15 good. I didn't think they were going to be whatever the – what was it, the third, fourth, top 5 AP? Yeah, third in AP. I didn't think they were top 3 good heading into the season. Maybe borderline top 10, probably top 10 if you really want to go down to the P's and Q's and everything. But no, I thought they were good. I thought they have a solid backcourt. Their front court's obviously amazing. But again, like I mentioned earlier, I just don't think they have an all-out point guard right now. And I think that's something they're going to have to figure out if it's going to be Xavier Lee, is it going to be Boogie Flan? And also, they're not as deep as they were last year. So I think they're still a good team. They're still going to be one of the favorites to win the SEC. I still think they'll probably will because this is only game one. They're going to figure out Todd Golden is too good of a coach, X and O's wise, to not figure out a system that works well with this team. But as of now, it's hard for me to say my stock's low on them when I wasn't even high on them to begin with.
So you're saying about even.
About even on where I had them.
And then I think maybe we both agree. The ECB top 25, the voters, we usually, I feel like, get it right by and large. Maybe we were a little too low in Arizona. And again, it's one game. Like, they could come out and really suck the rest of the year and this be their only win, but it's a great quad one victory out the gates. To me, they look better than 17th, and I bet next week's poll in the ECB top 25 reflects that. Stock up, down, or stays the same for Arizona?
I'll go stock up. I knew they were going to be a top 25 good. I knew they'd probably compete in the Big 12, but I didn't think right at the gates that they were going to be this good and win in the margin that they won in this game, only shooting 5 threes and only hitting 2 of them. Great percentage from the free throw line. They got to the line 38 times at 31. No turnovers, about even with Florida, 14 to Florida's 15. Rebounding, they out-rebounded Florida 41 to 39, which I think is very important. We mentioned how good Florida's front court is. The fact that they won the rebounding battle, that's probably the biggest reason why they won this game. And also, they didn't score in the last 2 minutes and 41 seconds and still won this game.
Yeah,
my stocks are high on Arizona right now.
Yeah, my stock is up, and I believe when I vote on Sunday, they will be a top 10 team, just full disclosure. Let's go to the nightcapper because this had multiple games at Las Vegas. The Florida-Arizona game was first and led things off. Then at 10:30, it was a battle between Villanova, now led by Kevin Willard, and the BYU Cougars, who came in preseason, the ECB top 25, ranked 8th. We all know about the roster in which they have constructed. And it's the Cougars of BYU coming out victorious 71-66 in this matchup. AJ DeBonta, the superstar freshman, 21 points, 6 boards, 9 of 18 from the floor. Bryce Lindsey from Villanova, 22 points, 5 boards, 5 of 9 from 3. There was a point where Villanova was down big early, and Bryce Lindsey almost single-handedly brought Villanova back into the ball game from the 17-21 mark in the second half to the 10:55 mark. Villanova went on an 18-5 run, and a lot of it was sparked behind Bryce Lindsey's incredible shooting. Nova finishes the game 10 of 35 from the three-point line, 11 turnovers, 49 boards. BYU 5 of 17 from the three-point line, so not a great shooting night. 14 of 21 from the foul line for 66.7%. Peyton, give me your thoughts on the Cougars. I know you probably want to talk about freshman sensation AJ DeBonta. First game on the college level against a quality enough opponent, 21 points, 6 rebounds. Talk to me about him.
I mean, he's a top 3 pick in the next year's draft. He's incredible. I thought he was very good in this game. Unfortunately, I only got to watch the first half of this game because Louisville played the 9 p.m. Eastern game, which pissed me off. So I had to stay up late to watch that game. But I was very happy with how he played. Talk about that in a little bit. So I didn't get to watch basically any of the second half at all, but the minutes I did get to see, and obviously just checking out the stat line here, 21 points, 9 of 18 from the field for DeBonta, 6 boards, 3 assists, played 32 minutes. I thought he played well. Obviously, he's an electrifying kid. There's a lot of expectations coming into this game. I think he exceeded those expectations. Top 3 pick in the NBA draft by far, definitely BYU's best player, and it's going to be their best player. But Richie Saunders, I think, is a guy coming into this year that nobody was really talking about. And he didn't really have the greatest efficiency night for him, but he still put up 15 points. He had 7 boards, a couple assists, played 29 minutes. I think going forward, DeBonta is going to get all the love. He's definitely the most important piece on this roster for BYU, and their chances potentially knock off Houston in the Big 12 conference and maybe make a run for a Final Four. But Richie Saunders is a guy that I think everybody should probably keep an eye on because they're going to go as long as AJ DeBonsa is playing well. But guys like Richie Saunders is going to play a huge role in their success in winning this year, I believe.
Yeah,
Big fan of him.
Yeah, we talked a lot about Richie in our Big 12 preview, talking about BYU. He had good years with Mark Pope. Last year really had a breakout year in his first year with Kevin Young as head coach. And I think there was, from people in the know, there was expectations that like his game. Here's the thing I think with Richie Saunders. He shoots the ball well. He's incredibly tough. He's good enough athletically. He's a good enough defender. I think with a big year, if BYU is to have the year that I think a lot of us expect that they will, which could very well end up in a Final Four. I know that there's quite a few people in the media that's picked them to make the Final Four. I think Richie Saunders, to your point, will play a massive role in that. And I think with a big year, could be one of those dudes when you look at June, the NBA draft is like a mid-second round pick and catches on with an NBA team because of his intangibles and has like a decent enough 7-8 year career in the NBA, just kind of being a nice glue guy. I think that's kind of his role. Peyton, if I told you before this game that Villanova doubles up BYU and makes from the 3-point line, they made 10, BYU 5. If I told you that they out-rebound BYU 49-43, if they have more assists than BYU 12-10, if they had more offensive rebounds than BYU 17-12, would you have said that Villanova wins this game and pulls off the first upset of the year?
Yeah, I would. But also looking at the stats, I'm looking at BYU. They also got 17 points off turnovers, which I think was extremely huge in their reasoning on winning this game. But no, I agree. I thought Villanova I didn't really know how to perceive Villanova coming into this year. And it's funny, you asking me all these hypothetical questions. I'll throw one right back to you. If I told you we're in 2025 and Devin Askew is still playing college ball, what would you say?
I'd say it's modern college basketball, baby.
Yeah, dude. I completely forgot he was on that roster until I just looked at the box score. 0 points, didn't do much, only played 13 minutes. But no, I think Villanova is an interesting team. I think in a couple of years, who knows, maybe even next year, the way transfer portal is and being at a program like Villanova that has history, especially recently, I think Kevin Willard will get Villanova back to winning very, very soon. Yes. I just don't think it's going to be this year. I think he's going to struggle. Mid-pack in the Big East Conference this year, I'd have him I had Villanova probably like 7th, maybe 6th. Maybe can squeak into the tournament this year. Depends on how good the rest of their schedule is. I haven't taken a look at it yet. I know that being in the Big East, there's going to be some chances for quad 1 wins, which is going to be huge for them. But I wasn't high on this Villanova squad coming into this game. I had a feeling that BYU was going to win this game. And if it wasn't for Lindsey going off the way he did in the second half, then this game was a blowout and it wasn't even close. But big fan of this BYU squad. Like I mentioned, I think AJ DeBonsa is incredible. I thought White III did what he needed to do on both sides of the floor. And Richie Saunders is one of my favorite, most underrated players in the country. I think they have the recipe to do some special things down there in BYU.
Here's the thing with Villanova. I think this, even in a loss, you know this is a wrestling fan. You hear it all the time. Sometimes people get over by winning and other people just get over in a match. And that means with a loss, they still come out looking really good. I think Villanova in a loss got themselves over. Because I think I forget what the spread was. I think it was BYU closed at like 8.5 or 10 or something around that nature. Villanova found themselves down pretty big early and rallied back. I think you've got something in Bryce Lindsey. He's going to be your guy that's going to shoot from 3 and make a bunch of threes over the course of the year, I believe. He's going to be able to get downhill. He's your number one option scoring. Duke Brennan really shocked the hell out of me. 32 minutes, 8 points, 15 boards, 4 of 6 from the floor. I thought he gave them some really good minutes, especially crashing the glass on the offensive end. 15 rebounds. A Caden Lewis, freshman, had committed to Kentucky, then before the summer, decommits, go to Villanova, gets the nod at starting point guard. I think, 21 minutes, 5 points, 2 boards, 3 assists, first game. You would have to think he improves on that. But I think Villanova is just going to continually get better and be in games. Again, I don't know if they're a tournament team, to your point, but I do think that there's stuff, if you're a Villanova Wildcat fan, that you can take away from this and think, all right, we've got a scoring option number one. We've got some young guys building. If Brennan's going to give us not 15 a night, but if he's going to give us 8 to 10, maybe even 12 boards a night and play with that effort, I think they've got something there. And clearly we talked about, I think UConn and St. John's are the best 2 teams in that league. Georgetown looks pretty good and improved. I think Villanova's got to think that, man, there's a chance we can finish top 4 in this if these things go right and we play well. Closing out on BYU, you've already talked about Saunders. We talked about DeBonsa. The other dude I want to mention just real quick, Kebakita, 23 minutes, 8.7 boards, 1 steal, 3 blocks, 4 or 5 from the floor. We've seen it the last couple of years. He's kind of an undersized post, but, man, that dude just gives you everything. Like, he's tough as shit. He screens hard. He gets rebounds. He blocks shots. He's an athletic freak at his size. I just think BYU. Now, 3-point percentage has to improve, in my opinion. 5 of 17 against Houston, 5 of 17 against Arizona or Kansas. Probably is not going to cut it most nights. And I do think that they will improve in that aspect. But you've got a superstar in A.J. DeBonsa. You've got a really good veteran, potential all-conference player, and Richie Saunders. You've got an electric point guard in Rob Wright. You've got a center who battles his ass off and is athletic in Kebakita. You've got some good role players. I think the sky is the limit for BYU, Peyton. Any final thoughts on this game before we move on to talk about the Dukies?
I have a final thought on Villanova, and hopefully it sounds as good as it does in my head, because it makes sense in my head, but we'll see how it plays out and how I talk about it here. But my whole thing about Villanova and why I am not necessarily on board with Villanova being the tournament team right now is, yes, they did play well enough to get themselves back into this game to only losing 5 points. We already talked about the stats. They beat BYU on pretty much almost every single stat category that really matters when it comes to winning. They won every single category. But there's, to me, and I'll put this like this, and I'll use this analogy. Say you're a chef and you're making a steak. However you want to make it, well, I like mine well done. Doesn't matter if you like pinking or however you want it. I like my steaks well done. You're making a steak. You get all the ingredients. You get it all well done. You put it in the skillet. You get the oil in. That's fine. But if you don't have the fucking correct seasonings, that steak's going to be dry as shit, and it ain't going to be good. And what I mean about that is when I watch this Villanova team and I look at their roster, they have 2 glaring issues that I see in this game. One of them is point guard play. I don't think they have a legitimate point guard. Not necessarily a fan of Devin Askew. Not really a fan of a Caden Lewis. I think they have a point guard issue. That's number one. And number 2 is their interior defense isn't great. They gave up 40 points in the paint to BYU. And yeah, I know they got A.J. DeBonsa. They got Richie Sanders, who likes to drive down to the lane. But still, you gave up 40 points. You won every single category in the stat sheet that really matters when it comes to winning. But you lost the points in the paint by a plus 16 margin. You gave up 40 points of BYU 71 in the paint. Point guard play is an issue. Interior defense is an issue. And you're playing in a league in the Big East that has guys like Zuby Ejiofor, Bryce Hopkins for St. John's, a front court league. If you can't stop penetration in the paint, whether it's from the guards attacking the rim or it's the forwards doing what they do down low in the post or attacking the rim as well, I don't see a way where Villanova shines in the Big East Conference this year. Those are my 2 issues.
I think those are very, very fair points. Again, it is game 1, so you would like to think Kevin Willard gets it fixed and corrected, but I think those are fair points. Can we agree, though, Kevin Willard is a good enough coach that I feel confident saying, maybe it's not this year, but next year and the years beyond, Villanova will be back to being Villanova.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think, listen, give him 2 years, maybe 3, a couple years from now. Listen, he'll get it figured out. He did it at Maryland. He'll get this shit figured out. Don't worry. I just don't think it's going to be this year.
Let's talk about a game on Tuesday night. that was played in Charlotte, North Carolina, the inaugural Dick Vitale. Was it called the Classic or Invitational? I forgot.
Invitational. I'm pretty sure it was the Dickie V Invitational.
The Dick Vitale Invitational, which of course we had the man of honor himself on the sticks for this game, which was nice to see alongside Jay Billis. And God forgive me, I forgot the lead commentator. He's been doing it forever. But of course, if you're going to have the first ever Dickie V Invitational, you got to have the Dukies. And that's exactly what we had in their backyard of Charlotte, North Carolina. Home crowd for the Duke Blue Devils, 5th ranked in the ECB preseason top 25. Tuck on the new look Texas Longhorns led by Sean Miller. And this was an entertaining game. Duke was a 10.5-point favorite. They walk into halftime down 33-32. Texas went on a run the final 4.5 minutes of the first half to seize control, to lead by a bucket or to lead by a point. But by the way, freshman star Cam Boozer was held to 0 points, 3 rebounds at halftime. Texas did an incredible job of neutralizing and challenging everything he did at the rim and really keeping him out of the ball game. But as superstars are known to do, second half, Cam Boozer turns it up, finishes with 15 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. Did it all for him, especially in the second half. 3 of 12 from the floor. Did not make a 3-point shot, but we've seen through exhibition games that's in his repertoire. I foresee him at least a 3 a game, I would imagine. There's going to be some games where he picks some pops or in transition trails. He may have three threes in a game, but his game's primarily built around the rim, getting offensive rebounds, putting them back, just being a physical nuisance, facing up and attacking off the bounce. He really bounced back in the second half, Peyton, to come back with his first ever double-double officially in college. He only sat down for 4 minutes. You want to talk about a dude who is necessary for a team, even as a freshman, 36 minutes in your debut, still wind up with a double-double after not scoring at all in the first half. But, man, Isaiah Evans, 33 minutes, 23 points, 4 of 8 from the three-point line. There was in the first half when Duke started to stretch the lead out. He went nuclear. He buried a 3. I think they got a steal, if memory serves me correctly, and he comes down off of a little curl cut and just hand in his face, no hesitation, buries another one. Texas calls a timeout. Isaiah Evans, we saw it some last year. That dude can fill it up in a hurry from outside. Dame Sarb, another high-level 5-star freshman, 28 minutes, 8 points, 5 boards. Patrick Ngangba, another high-level 5-star, 10 points, 4 rebounds. Caleb Foster pitched in 7. Cam's brother, Caden Bruiser, starting point guard, only played 13 minutes, actually, I was about to say he's in foul trouble, but he was not. He actually had no fouls, but 2 points, 3 rebounds. What's your takeaways from this? Duke goes 9-23 from the three-point line for 39%, so that's good. Missed 8 free throws, 10 turnovers. To me, Duke looked like a team that were trying to figure out Texas's physicality, because Texas, when they started to shore up defensively and really pinch off gaps and started to fight back, so to speak, Duke looked a little rattled. Like they looked like young dudes trying to figure out the older guys of Texas, how they were manhandling them almost. But the talent came through at the end with Duke. There's clearly an abundance of talent on this team. And they, at the end of the day, despite probably not playing anywhere close to their A game, still get a 15-point victory to open the season against another high major team.
Yeah, I think Duke is a very, very extremely talented team. Obviously, they were coming into the season. That's why they had so much hype. Ranked 5th in our preseason polls for the ECB preseason polls that came out a couple weeks ago. I think Duke's a very talented team. I do think, and obviously this is game 1, so it is a very small sample size, but it's kind of hard for me not to think this way. I do think, talent-wise, Duke's probably the best team in the country when it comes to just pure talent. But I think they might have an issue with depth in the front court that's not named Cam Boozer. I think Patrick Ngangba, I mean, he had 10 points in this game. He definitely fouled out. Malik Brown came off the bench. He also fouled out. That speaks to Texas' physicality that you mentioned. But Duke, I don't know why this is a common theme, but under John Shire, Duke, when it comes to the front court, they just like to get bullied. and or not liked. They just get bullied. Like, they're not physically imposing. They're not the ones that's bringing the physicality to other teams. It's normally the other teams bringing the physicality to them. And sometimes it ends up biting them in the ass, like it did a couple years ago when they lost
to Tennessee. Yeah.
In the Sweet 16 or whatever. Yeah, I think it was Sweet 16.
It's Sweet 16, yeah.
And it bit him in the ass then. And I do think there's some similar issues with this Duke squad. Cam Boozer, game one, playing 36 minutes. I definitely want your best player on the floor. But one thing I will say, though, is what I love about Jon Scheyer and I love about Cam Boozer is he was held scoreless in the first half. They go into halftime, and he talked about this in the post-game press conference. He said that Jon Scheyer pretty much got right into his face and called him soft, and basically said he's playing like shit for being that highly talented recruit coming out of high school and having so much high expectations coming into Duke. He basically told him, like, dude, you're playing soft as shit right now. And then he comes out second half, picks up 15 points, ends up with a double-double, and they end up pulling away there at the end, winning by 15. So I think that's why Jon Scheyer is one of the best coaches right now when it comes to just getting the best out of his players and really understanding how to coach each player differently than the rest. Some people can take criticism, some people cannot. Cam Boozer is electrifying. He's one of those kids that he looks forward to that criticism because it'll make him a better player. And you can see the difference from first half Cam Boozer to second half Cam Boozer. But no, this new team's talented. I mean, they hit majority of their threes, shot 39% from three. Didn't shoot a high volume, but they shot a high percentage. To me, that's winning. That's a recipe that deserves a win, a big win from them, and they got it. So congrats to them.
I think that's a good point about Cam Boozer, and credit to him. And I'd imagine, Carlos Boozer being his dad, they're probably used to it in a way. But credit to him because there are a lot of talented kids in the past and currently right now that they can't handle hard coaching. It's a different era. And the fact that Scheyer trusted him, his star player, enough that he could coach him hard and just be brutally honest with him. And the fact that Cam Boozer didn't run from it, acknowledged it, and tuck it in. And you saw what the second half was like. I like that all around. Texas with Sean Miller. I think it's going to take some time, similar to what we talked about with Kevin Willard. I know there is pundits that really buy into Texas, and I think because of Sean Miller and because they have veterans coming back like Jordan Pope from last year, Kendall Weaver, Tremont Mark, they get Simeon Wilcher coming in from St. John's, Cam Heidian from Purdue. But I just think overall this team, there's a lack of, to me, outside shooting, and there's just a lack of overall depth. But I did think that they showed some nice stuff. Dallin Swain pitches in 16 points in 35 minutes, came in with Sean Miller from Xavier. Jordan Pope, 15. I cannot pronounce the big man's name. It's the 7-1.
I'm not. I can't either. I'm not going to try.
I heard him say it a bunch, and I can't. Volk. I'm just going to call him Volk. 15 and 8, so that's good from your 7-1 big man. Tremont Mark is the one that him and Kendall Weaver were. Actually, the three guards were really disappointing to me in this game.
Extremely disappointing.
Kendall Weaver, 15 minutes, 3 points. Tremont Mark, 24 minutes, 2 points. Simeon Wilcher, 15 minutes, 0 points. Everyone with a minus into the plus-minus category. Minus 11 for Weaver, minus 10 for Mark, and minus 11 for Wilcher. I just think for dudes who have been in college basketball, especially Weaver and Mark, they've been in for a while now, and Wilcher's been there now for a couple of years. You just got to get more production out of them. Tremont Mark, we've seen him have games dating back last year with Texas when they beat Kentucky. He had a big game. We've seen him have some big games last year with Texas. We've seen him with Arkansas a couple years back have some big games. He can be a scoring threat. 2 points, I don't think, from your veteran guard who's been in for 5+ years now of college basketball. It's just not going to cut it. Kendall Weaver, I know he dealt with injury concerns last year, but I just think from those guards, not named Jordan Pope, you got to get more. Well, Jordan Pope and Dallin Swain, because those two played pretty well. But Weaver, Mark, and Wilcher have to give you more than a combined 5 points in roughly 20 minutes combined or averaged out between all three of them. It's just not going to cut it if Texas really is to mount a charge to make the NCAA tournament in Sean Miller's first year. And here's the thing. Sean Miller, we all know, is a very good coach. Like him, love him, hate him or not, ECB alumni from last year. We had the pleasure of interviewing him with the Musketeers. He's going to get Texas back on the right path eventually. But it's the same thing we talked about just a few minutes ago with Kevin Willard at Maryland, listen to me, at Villanova. It's just going to take some time. This team doesn't shoot the ball well, but they are tough. They do get downhill, and I do think they showed some shit to them defensively that I think gives hope for them. But they're not going to do anything of note if they don't get anything from their veteran guards. Just nothing.
Yeah, I agree, and it makes it really hard right now to see how they're going to do for the rest of the season, because I do think if they don't get the production from their guards, they're going to struggle because they don't have the greatest front court right now. When it comes to just day-by-day efficiency-wise, I just don't trust their front court. I mean, the 7-1 guy, Voki, he had 15 points, played 23 minutes, but he was in foul trouble. He had four fouls, and also he turned the ball over 5 times. Texas as a whole had 16 turnovers. That's something you can't do against a Duke team that loves to get in transition, loves playing fast. You can't have 16 turnovers when you're playing against Duke. Cannot happen. And well, they let it happen. It's a big reason why they've lost this game. So they need to figure out their guard play. They need to figure out how to take care of the ball. And obviously start hitting more shots. It is game 1, but they shot 17 threes, only hit 5, 29%. Very inefficient from field goal wise, 32% compared to Duke's 42. They just couldn't stop Duke later on in the game. Duke ended the day. I think they made 5 of the last 6 field goals. Yeah. And really helped stretch it out there late and pretty much put a dagger in this game. But no, I think Texas played well enough that they honestly could have won this game or definitely kept it closer. Just couldn't get enough stops late in the game. And no, I agree. I think Sean Miller's going to get it done at Texas. He's going to figure it out. And the reason why I'm so confident in that, I'm more confident that he's going to figure out faster at Texas than Kevin Will is going to figure out at Villanova. I think next year Texas could be pretty good.
In that Texas money, buddy.
That's what I'm about to mention.
Okay,
That's what I'm about to mention. That's the biggest reason why I trust him to get it done faster than Kevin Will at Villanova. It's because I'm curious of what that NIL payroll is going to be next year. I don't know what it was this year, but I know Texas has that fuck you money. I'm sure a lot of it goes to football, as it should. But listen, they just built the Moody Center about 4 or 5 years ago. And that holds a shit ton of people, over 15,000 people, I think, in the Moody Center. So
no,
clearly,
I remember they made it smaller, but it's more intimate. It's like a 10,000, 11,000 seat arena, but it's super loud. Everything we've heard of.
Yeah, it's either way, it's still a big time arena to play at. It says approximately 50,000 people for concerts and about 10,000 for basketball games. So, you're correct on that. But still, I mean, Duke's only 10,000 as well for the came an indoor stadium. You see how loud that building gets. But listen, they're clearly investing into basketball as well. I think next year Texas could be an interesting team to watch out for in the SEC. But Sean Miller's going to get it done. He's that good of a coach. He'll figure it out.
Before we start to look ahead to this weekend's there's a handful of games coming up in the next 48 hours with ranked matchups that continue opening week college basketball. Let's take a minute real quick to talk about some of our teams or some teams that stand out to us from the opening games of the week of college basketball here. And we'll start with the Wildcats real quick, the Kentucky Wildcats. They are I don't have our poll in front of us. I think they were preseason 7th or 8th in our top 25. I'd have to go back and look. But nonetheless, the top 10 team in the AP and the preseason or ECB preseason top 25 poll, they were favored by 30.5. They win 77-51 against Nicholls State. First half was one of the more brutal offensive showings I can remember Kentucky having in a while, especially under Mark Pope. They could not buy a bucket. They end up finding their footing the last 4 minutes of the first half and then start to really pull away in the second half. Final tallies, Kentucky goes 7 of 27 from the three-point line for 25.9%. 12 of 22 from the free throw line, 54.5%. They had more turnovers than Nicholls did, 13-11. They clearly out-rebounded them 51-30. 21 assists on 29 made shots. That is incredible numbers right there. So they're still moving and sharing the basketball. Colin Chandler ends up with a career high 15 points. Denzel Aberdeen back after missing the Georgetown exhibition. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. It's clear how much Kentucky needs him on the floor. Jasper Johnson, 11 points in his debut game. Mo Diabate played really well, 7 and 7. And then you go down the line. Otega Owe, 21 minutes, 13 points, 3 rebounds, plus minus 16. But I tell you, something didn't look right about him. I don't know if it was just effort or he's still shaking off the summer injury. But nonetheless, Kentucky gets a 26-point victory. I didn't feel particularly great about it, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. I don't think it's clearly all bad. You still win by 26. You were never really challenged. You got good minutes out of Colin Chandler. Mo Diabate plays his balls off. Jasper Johnson continues to be a scoring threat. But I'm just worried about this team. If they're to be as good as we predicted them to be, I have them winning the SEC, by the way. I have them potentially a Final Four team. If they're to be as good as we think they can be, they've clearly got to shoot the ball better. Like the offensive end has to come along.
Yeah, and I wasn't on the show when you guys did the SEC preview, but obviously you can vouch. I told you this before multiple times when we were at work, and I just don't think I didn't think this Kentucky team was a good three-point shooting team coming into this year, and I still don't believe they're a good three-point shooting team. At the 3 games I saw them, the 2 exhibition games against Purdue and Georgetown, and game 1 against Nicholls State, shooting, I think, if you average it all out, they're shooting probably about like 28, 29% from 3, which is not going to get it done at Kentucky under a Mark Pope offense. It's just they're going to shoot a lot of threes, and it's not going to be good for them if they're not hitting those threes like they were last year. They don't have a guy like Kobe Blair to bail them out, an elite three-point shooter that came in last season from Dayton. Free throw shooting something that I didn't expect. I knew they weren't going to be a good three-point shooting team coming to this year, but I at least thought they was going to hit majority of their free throws. And the fact that they went, 12 of 22 from the free throw line?
22, yeah.
I mean, good thing you played Nicholls State and you didn't open up with the Champions Classic like you would a couple years ago. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. That's actually embarrassing. Like, you need to hit your free throws. Like, I don't understand how that's an issue. Like, I'm sure people missing free throws in this day and era. As much as you guys practice it and practice, I don't know. I just don't know why it happens as much as it does nowadays, but it is what it is. Colin Chandler.
They can hit step back 30-footers with a hand in their face, no problem. But they can't hit an uncontested free throw from 15 feet. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's a pet peeve of mine, but we'll move on. Colin Chandler, I thought he played well. I mean, he had that nasty fucking dunk.
My God. SportsCenter top play.
Yeah, dude, he had that nasty dunk. He shit all over that kid from Nicholls State. He had 15 points, played 24 minutes, had a couple steals. Denzel Aberdeen, he didn't play in the Georgetown game. So he played in the Purdue game, didn't play in the Georgetown game because he was injured. And then this is his first game back since the Purdue game. But I thought he had moments where he played well. He had a decent stat line, 10 points, 5 boards, 6 assists. Jasper Johnson, even though he didn't shoot the ball well from 3, him attacking the rim, I think he's going to be one of the most best drivers from the guard spot in the country. I think his ability to attack the rim and set people up is going to help them tremendously. They're definitely missing
Jalen Lowe.
I forgot his name from there. They're definitely missing him. It's a good thing he's coming back tomorrow for the game against Valpo. But the front court, I've never been a fan of Brandon Garrison. Even last year, I thought he had moments where he did well, but I think overall he just wasn't. I thought guys like Andrew Carr, was way more efficient than he was last year. Mm-hmm. And this year, I think Diabate played his ass off, but even him, I think he has his flaws. I just think when it comes to switching and you're playing a team against Louisville or you're playing a team like, I don't know, even Tennessee that seems rumored that they're going to shoot a lot of threes this year. You're playing these teams that's highly offensive power, that does a lot of screens, that requires you to switch a lot. I don't think Kentucky defensively is going to be able to contain that. I do think their interior defense, though, is extremely tough to play against, which is going to cause issues for a lot of teams. But when it comes to guarding people out on the perimeter, that's something they may struggle with early on. But I think this Kentucky team's still top 10 good. I just think three-point shooting and clearly free throw shooting is going to be a major issue. And obviously, point guard position, we'll see how healthy Jalen Lowe is tomorrow night, but that's for tomorrow.
Yeah, like we'll see. Having a true point guard and your full complement of players has to change the dynamics, makes the offense easier. So we'll see what they look like once they get everybody healthy. And don't forget, Jaden Quaintance will eventually, probably around SEC play, will be back. And then we can, I think, really start to judge Kentucky by that. Louisville, their largest lead with 2 minutes and 32 seconds left to go in the second half, was 67. I did not stutter. This is not some weird high school girls game where an elite team plays one of the poor little bum teams. They had another Division I team, albeit South Carolina State, down 67 points. Louisville wins 104-45, ranked 11th in the AP and 11th in the ECB top 25. This is a team that struggled to guard against Kansas, that struggled in the first half against Bucknell, but really figured out in the second half. And they came out guns a-blazing in the opening night on Monday night inside, I almost said Freedom Hall, inside the KFC Yum Center. Peyton, 12 of 32 from the three-point line, was actually fewer three-point shots than I thought that they would get up, but still 37%. 26 of 33 from the foul line. 17 turnovers, too many, especially against South Carolina State, but that's fixable. And look at all the people that got into the scoring category. The Cards are, albeit or admittedly, everybody knows that's been a fan of this, is your favorite team. Talk to us here. Take a minute or two. Talk to us about the Cardinals dominating opening night performance.
Oh, brother. Dude. I'm so happy to have a good Louisville team back there. I'm not even a good Louisville team. Fuck that. An elite Louisville team that can just shoot the lights out from three. Coming into this year, people were worried about our front court, rightfully so. People were worried about our defense, rightfully so. We jumped a Division I team that's preseason picked to win the MEAC conference this year. Yes, I know the MEAC conference is one of the bottom half conferences in college basketball. But we didn't do this to a D2 team. Well, not like Boise State. That even lost to a D2 team, by the way. We did this shit to a D1 team. We jumped them 26-2. We were up 59-15 at halftime. We were up like 80-20 with like 14 minutes to go in the second half.
It was like 26-2 to start the game.
Yeah, that's what I said. We were on pace to score over 130 points. If we didn't put our walk-ons in, we didn't obviously clear our bench out very early on in this game.
Yeah.
We were on pace to score 130 points. Coming into this game, the spread was 36.5 points. Obviously, Louisville, we won by 59. We almost double covered in this game against South Carolina State. 3-point-wise, we shot the lights out from three. We had 38% of our three-point attempts. Mikael Brown in his actual debut played pretty well. Stat sheet's probably not going to show it. He only had 11 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, had a couple big-time dunks, a lot of crazy assists later on in the game that were incredible. Ryan Conwell did his thing. Isaac McNeely came out just shooting the lights out from three. He was like, his first 3 attempts, he just nothing but net, back in the net. He played great. The guy that I specifically want to talk about in this game is Kenai Roos. What a player he's become. And from his last season at Louisville to now coming to this year. Not a lot of people were talking about him. He came out 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. His ability to stretch it out and hit shots is going to be a big reason why we potentially win the ACC this year and potentially couldn't make a run for the Final Four. But, dude, what a way to start the season off. 47 rebounds. We definitely got cut on the turnovers, but luckily for us, a lot of those turnovers were unforced, something you can easily fix. What a win. Fucking belt to ass from the get-go. I'm so happy. It's so good to be back, bro. Fucking love it.
As DeRosa joins the show, Michael, we were just talking just briefly before we move on to the weekend's matchups we'll preview about Kentucky, Louisville. Since you're here, you can mention Georgetown Butler. Take a minute or two, talk about some of the things you saw from all those games, anything you want to shout out from any of those. We talked about Kentucky's inability to shoot the three and look really ugly in the first half, figured it out a little bit more. will reserve judgment once they get their true point guard Jalen Lowe back, and then eventually Jaden Quaintance, I think, is how we'll eventually start to begin to judge Kentucky. Louisville, we talked about just incredible offensive output and how they look defensively. That's a really fun team. Both teams inside the state of Kentucky. Collision course on Tuesday. I can't wait to preview that on Sunday's show. And then the Hoyas, and I know Butler both got wins. So take a few minutes here since you hopped on the show. Talk about what you saw out of those.
Yeah, Peyton's too famous to show his face, eh? Okay, all right. You got to pay a little extra. You know what I see. Okay.
Hey, at least I showed up one time. Where have you been, Mr. Expert of all things?
Expert of all things. That's right. That's my title. I was being an expert on other things, Peyton. But honestly, the thing I was most like, from a national perspective, I thought Koa Pete was awesome. He looked so good.
He was amazing. We talked about him at the beginning of the show when we talked Arizona's win. Yep.
He was the freshman in this country. Peyton mentioned Mikael Brown as I was here. Mikael Brown, Koa Pete, and then obviously the big three. Boozer, who granted didn't play a great first game, but like you still see like he's the dude.
Second half.
We
just talked about
way
it.
Better.
Yeah, we just talked about like 10 minutes ago when we were reviewing the Duke game about how 0 points in the first half, 3 rebounds. Shire gets into him a little bit at halftime, and he comes out, and it's a totally different player.
And then Darren Peterson looked like
he was
the best. He looked like the best scoring guard we've seen in a long, long time. That dude's going to be a problem. And Debanza played a great game too. So like those were my main takeaways. But in terms of Butler and Georgetown, I mean, they did kind of everything I expected them to do. I thought Georgetown played pretty sloppy to start the game, but like, oh well, it happens. And they ended up kind of smoking a shitty Morgan State team, and Butler beat the shit out of an awful Southern Indiana team. Those teams that really aren't going to do anything going forward. Georgetown's getting against Maryland this weekend. That'll tell you a lot more about them. And Butler, even IU Indy is going to be a better test than Southern Indiana was. So
IU Indy, 100 points at Ohio State.
And they're playing, I think their game just hit. They're playing now too.
Yeah.
They played 86 possessions in that game. They play, the style they play is, they're going to be, even if they're not like great per se, and they're like a 500 team in the Horizon League, they're going to be very fun to watch. Like the style's just crazy.
I will say, talking about Butler, funny enough, I don't know why I was watching this game. I think I was waiting for the Indiana game to start. It tipped off earlier. Yeah. But I was watching this game. And yeah, Southern Indiana is not. I mean, they're just
really
not
bad.
good.
They're really bad.
They're really fucking bad.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, funny enough, they were actually pretty good when they became a natural D1 team. But this year, they're not very good. Butler still beat the shit out of them. But no, Michael Ajayi, how do you say his fucking name? 24 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 25 minutes. There was a couple of times he was splitting defenders, coming up the floor, had a couple of nice dunks, hit a couple of shots. Like, I mean, again, small sample size, and again, very low competition. But I'm a big fan of him, and I think if he does well, Butler could be an interesting team. I'm not going to jinx him like Josh did to Butler a couple years ago, so you don't have to worry about that. But no, I'm a big fan of Michael Ajayi. So we'll see how
we talked about DeRosa. We talked about it in our Big East preview a few weeks back about when we got to Butler about Ajayi. Now it's his time to potentially shine. He was obviously playing behind some really good people at Gonzaga. Was third best.
He didn't fit.
Exactly. He was at best on certain nights the third option. Most nights, fourth, fifth, sixth option, and a lot of nights. Now it's his time to shine, and he's off to a good start.
And there's an offense constructed around him that I think really helps too. And again, this was a pretty easy matchup for him. IUPUI, I am going to call them Ooey Pooey. They're Ooey Pooey to me forever. That's also going to be a pretty easy. Yeah, that's also should be a pretty easy matchup for him. But going forward, he'll be tested a little more. I'm very interested to see how he looks in that. But I thought he was. I mean, all things considered, I think he played about as well as he possibly could have. I think he had 18 and 9 in the first half. Like that's. I mean, that's as good a half as you're going to have. But we talked a little bit about how Mikael Brown looked, and I mean, Louisville won 7,000-4.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, but it looks like Josh. I don't know if you. I mean, you would be able to test this more. It looks like Georgetown kind of broke Kentucky a little bit, eh?
I don't know how much they broke them. I think they exposed some.
Exposed. That's what they did.
Let me say. I think they exposed some potential flaws. Kentucky still, even in that Georgetown game, when Georgetown, we talked about it, they really mauled them and out-physicaled them. They still got some good looks, and they just didn't make. They got to the free throw line more than Georgetown did in that game, and they missed. They get to the free throw line the other night against Nichols. 12 of 22 is just inexcusable. They had good looks and missed. I do want to fully see once Jalen Lowe's back if, shots come easier, you get your feet set, you're a little more open. If they keep missing those, then I will worry about this team as a shooting team. I think defensively, they still got really good potential, but man, if they can't shoot, it's going to make this offense a whole lot Virginia-like is what it's going to make it. Hey, real quick on Georgetown before we move on. You mentioned, not their best performance, but they got the win. Most important, they played Maryland this upcoming weekend. Do you think Georgetown, because before they played Kentucky, they played GW, right? Correct in the first, and they won, but it wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing. And then they looked amazing against Kentucky. Did they win their opener? Not the most aesthetically pleasing. I'm banking on against Maryland, another name brand team, that they look really good. Do you think it'll be the case all year with Georgetown? Is that they up their game against the better teams, the more name brand teams, and then maybe look kind of sloppy against teams that they're probably favored to blow out?
I mean, that's just kind of how, in general, I think of like really defensively minded teams, in that you're going to play super physical against both. And since you're not a great shooting team, it's really hard to like separate and like win by like big margins. I honestly thought they would in this game. And really, I think they could have won by 30. I think they got up by like 28 at one point, and then they put the walk-ons in and ended up being like a 17-point win or whatever it was. But yeah, in general, that's what I would think, just because they're not a great shooting team at all. They hit shots against Kentucky, but they didn't in this game. But they're not a very good shooting team. They're just not. But they're going to play really physical defense and kind of take you out of what you want to do. And if they're hitting 70 points in a game, they're probably going to be very competitive. So if you're doing that against Morgan State, it'll be 70-52. But if you're doing that against Kentucky, it's like, holy crap, they put up 70 points against Kentucky, and it's like 65-70, and it's a toss-up. Like, that's just going to be a better performance than you're not going to beat the shit out of some shitty team.
Fair enough. We've got some high-profile games we need to get to and then try to get out of here to wrap this episode up, because I know Peyton Louisville plays here in under 20 minutes. So let's start with tomorrow night, Friday, November the 7th. We have a blue blood on blue blood matchup. They started it last year where Kansas wins 92-89, and honestly an incredible game inside at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. They run it back this time in the Dean Dome inside or at Chapel Hill. You get number 19 Kansas at number 25 North Carolina. Both teams 1-0, big wins to open their campaigns up this week. Both teams ironically scored 94 points. Kansas went 10 of 27 from the three-point line. They're shooting 37% on the year. North Carolina 10 of 29. So both teams made double-digit three-point shots. Both have star freshmen Caleb Wilson in his debut for the Tar Heels, 22 points. Darren Peterson, of course, we know the type of scoring threat he is. Flory Badunga continues to look good. We talked about a sophomore jump. He's proven that early on to be true. DeRosa, since you just hopped on, I'll let you take first crack at this. Kansas going into a seemingly improved and better North Carolina team in a tough environment on a Friday night, standalone game as far as the marquee games go. This one has, I think, classic written all over it.
Yeah, I think it could be a fun one. These are two teams I think I was a little higher on than most. 19-25 feels about right. And I think like the more nerdy take was like, I don't know if these teams are going to be there, but I actually think this could be a lower scoring game. I think the defense could be there just because I think North Carolina has some pretty good defensive guard wings pretty much. And I would kind of say the same for Kansas. Obviously Darren Peterson's going to get his, and Caleb Wilson. North Carolina will find a way to get buckets, but yeah, I don't know. This one I think could go either way. I'm very excited for it because I don't really know how it's going to play out. Like, I know Peterson's going to score. That's kind of all I feel like I really know about this game. That's really it. I'm very excited for it. I wish I had more to say, but I'm really interested to see how North Carolina is able to like create points on this team. And I think Seth Trimble is going to be a good test for Darren Peterson as well. Like, it's going to be an experienced, tough defender who's gone against guys, maybe not of the same high echelon quality of Darren Peterson, but has gone against some very upper echelon guys and really held his own. So I'm very interested in this game. I don't know. I don't have a good read on it. I think it's going to be lower scoring than people expect. I think that would be like my main take, but I'm very excited for this game. I think it could go either way. I wouldn't be surprised at really any result.
It's funny. I won't say shit talk, but we kind of had some fun talking about North Carolina on the ACC preview about Kean Evans. And boy, he looked real good. Albeit Central Arkansas the other night, 24 minutes, 15 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, 4 steals, 4 of 7 from the 3-point line. Again, Central Arkansas, they don't have Scottie Pippen no more. This ain't 1987. However, it's still a really good stat line. Peyton, when you look at this Kansas game, as you see at the bottom ticker here, the Carolina right now has when we do this podcast, they're a 1.5 point favorite in the Dean Dome. I think that's about right when you factor in that they're at home and they look good. They've got a star of their own. Peyton, what do you see as a key? Because I think both teams are in a weird way kind of mirror images of one another right now, where there's still some unknowns. Like, do you trust either one's outside shooting? They look good so far. Over the long-term health, I don't know. I think their stars will show up, but then it comes down to who's like the second option on both teams, and can they outperform the other team's second option?
Yeah, it's difficult to preview, and I will say that shout out to the Wheel app, by the way. I'm glad you actually put me onto that because it makes this shit so much easier. You can actually compare teams from last year compared to this year. It's actually pretty cool. I'm looking at these stats right now on my phone, previewing this game. But no, I think I agree a little bit more with DeRosa on the low-scoring aspect of this game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I think three-point shooting may suffer for both teams. If you ask me who I trust more, but Darian Peterson, I saw this dude live in Louisville a couple weeks ago. He was just lights out from three. I knew coming into this game coming into the season that he was going to be an electrifying player, but I kind of underrated his ability to just hit outside shots. And he had a couple outside shots against Green Bay a couple days ago, opening night for Kansas. I think his ability to just play at all three levels and really stretch around his shots, he's going to give guys like Seth Trimble's issues. I don't think they're going to have any problems Kansas scoring the basketball when the ball is in Darian Peterson's hands. I look at guys like Trey White. I haven't really been too impressed with him. I mean, he was a former Louisville player, so I'm very familiar with him. Wasn't too impressed with him at Louisville, not impressed with him so far when I saw him live a couple weeks ago in the Yum Center. I hope he has a better game or starts the season out right in this big-time matchup. Melvin Council Jr. is a very interesting piece in this Kansas squad. He had 10 points, 5 boards, 4 assists in the game against Green Bay. Floyd Bandunga, though, is the second option for Kansas.
Oh,
if
for sure.
Kansas wins this game, it's because nobody on Carolina can keep him off the glass and contain him for a full 40 minutes because he's going to play a lot of minutes. He's not going to get much breathing room. He played 25 against Green Bay. I expect him to play about, I'd say, over 32 minutes in this game. But I look at him to be how well can he dominate in this game. And if he can get his points easily, they don't have an issue. They don't have any options stopping him. Then I think Kansas comes out with a W. But this Carolina team's interesting because Caleb Wilson is one of the best freshmen in the country. And I think Seth Trimble, they played really well in the opening game. It's tough, bro. I mean, it's hard to go in the Dean Smith Center and win. It's difficult.
Here's what I'm worried about for Kansas in this matchup. I don't know who guards Caleb Wilson. Like, are you going to put Bryson Tiller on him? Because I think Caleb Wilson I think talent-wise is better, but I just think if you try to guard him and he's going to face up, and I think he'll blow by him, and it's going to put Kansas in rotation, you need Flory Badungan around the rim to block shots. Like, you don't need him spread out. And if you do get matchups where Badunga has to switch out, let's say they get caught in a switch or he gets matched up on a Caleb Wilson down the court, he's going to pull him away from the rim, and then Kansas has nobody at the rim, which is going to allow Evans, it's going to allow Trimble, it's going to allow Carolina's guards to get to the rim. I think transition and Kansas getting back, because we know Carolina loves to push the ball. I think Kansas's transition D has to be on point. They have to limit live ball turnovers. I do think Darren Peterson goes nuts in this game. I think Flory Badungan has a good offensive output game. Henry Visar double-double to open his Carolina career officially the other night. I think Carolina at home is too much. The spread's 1.5. I think they cover in a very tight competitive ball game. But I just don't know, at least on paper, who Kansas matches up with Caleb Wilson that will contain him. They're probably going to have to go smaller. Could work, especially since he is a face-up, wants to put the ball on the deck. I'm going Carolina 79-75. They win late, get some free throws. What's your guys' prediction on this game?
Okay, I'll go first. Carolina's front court's better than Kansas. with Henry Vassar, Caleb Wilson, and Jaren Stevenson. Kansas' backcourt's better, though. And I trust backcourts when it comes to time games like this, especially on the road. I don't think Seth Trimble or Kyan Evans is going to be able to stop or even contain Darren Peterson. I mean, not many people in the country can. I think he's going to have a field day playing at all three levels. I think he's going to attack the rim. He's going to get them in foul trouble. He's going to make it frustrating for them. He might go for 30 this game. I'm going to be honest. He might. He's that type of player. What worries me is North Carolina's front court. I think if Kansas can't win the rebounding battle and they can't limit their turnovers, then I think Carolina wins this game. But I'll trust in Bill Self. I think they have enough interesting pieces when it comes to their backcourt. They got depth there. I'm going to go with the Jayhawks going into the Dean Smith Center and pulling out a close one, low-scoring game. I'll say 72-68 Kansas.
71-70 UNC.
So they don't even cover the spread.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this kicks Saturday off. And another top 25 showdown, 13th Alabama in the ECB top 25, going to Madison Square Garden to basically play a true road game and for all intents and purposes against number 20. I actually have them number 25. I didn't change their ranking. We have St. John's top 10. I'd have to go look at our preseason top 25. I didn't change that. But nonetheless, basically a true road game for Alabama going to the Garden here. Both coming off big wins. Let me see. St. John's is 6, so both coming off big wins, statement wins to open the season up. St. John's was led by Dylan Mitchell, 18.7 boards. They beat Quinnipiac 108-74 on opening night. Josan Sainon had 14, Ian Jackson 15, Zuby Ejiofor 17 and 6. Balanced scoring. They make 8 threes, 8 of them 19 from the three-point line, which I don't think any of us expect them to be a great shooting team. But if they improve just enough, the defense should follow. We know what type of offensive threat Alabama wants to be, who they are. Their backcourt with LeBaron Philon, with oh my God, I just went blank here. Help me out, DeRosa. With Houston Mallett. Noah Williamson, Taylor Bowen in the front court. Aiden Holloway is who I was thinking of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's basically, in my opinion, the classic great offense meets great defense. Who do you have and why, DeRosa?
Do we know is Holloway playing in this game? He is, right? Yeah.
I believe so.
So Holloway, Bristow, and Wrightsell all missed their first game. So
yeah, they did.
Yeah, that would kind of be like the main thing for me. I'm going to assume Holloway's playing because if he isn't, then I can back out of this prediction because I'm going to take Alabama in this game. I think that just the guard play is much better in Alabama. Philon and Holloway, I think, are the two best guards in this game. And I don't know if Alabama will really have an answer for Zuby. Correction, I know they won't have an answer for Zuby, but I just think the way the pace, their way their guards are going to be able to control the game, and I think they're going to be able to hit from the outside. I don't know if Bryce Hopkins is really ready to play at like this sort of pace. Dylan Mitchell is an asset for them, but
yeah, Hopkins. I'm sorry, I just want to add to Hopkins played like 21 minutes against Quinnipiac, had like 8 points. Looks kind of like a shell of himself, but also looks like a dude who hasn't played big time college basketball in over a year. So take that for what you will.
Yeah, I just think it could take him some time. And I think one thing that St. John's did really well was they just kind of like really suffocated what Quinnipiac wanted to do. And they took Amari Monroe out of the game. And if you take Amari Monroe out of the game for Quinnipiac, they really have no other answer. Alabama, if you take LeBaron Philon out of the game, no, I guess Aiden Holloway's got to go here. I guess Houston Millett's got to make a play here. I guess so on. I don't know. I could see St. John's winning this game. Like I wouldn't be stunned if they do by any means. I think it's pretty much a coin flip, but just because St. John's is favored by 6.5 points in a game that I think is a coin flip, I'm going to take Alabama in a close competitive game. But I think just their shooting, and the way they're going to be able to control the game, I think will make a difference.
Peyton, the one thing I'll say about Alabama, one game, granted, but it was at home against North Dakota. 8 of 27 from the three-point line for 29%, and they also turned the ball over 15 times. North Dakota actually had 5 fewer turnovers. The reason I bring that up to what DeRosa was saying, if they, let's say, go 8 of 27 again for only 29% from against St. John's, with the way Rick Pitino's defenses normally play, they are forcing a ton of live ball turnovers. I think if they don't take care of the basketball and they don't hit a high volume of threes, I don't think the percentage matters as much with a team like Alabama. They could shoot 41, but if they hit 12 of them, they usually win the ball game. I think they got to hit a high volume of them and not turn the ball over, and at least live ball turnovers, because I think St. John's is built to capitalize off that and make them pay. I've got St. John's. They're not going to cover. I've got the Johnnies winning by 4. I just think that there's going to be a stretch where maybe it's defense, maybe it's just missing shots, but I think Alabama goes on like a 3.5, 4-minute cold spell, and that's enough for St. John's to pull away.
Are you serious? Sorry, I had to. Listen, I gave a nod to Gus Johnson, the Southern show. I had to give a nod to the little legend Dickie B that we're talking about. But, I mean, this may be controversial, but I think St. John's put belt to ass against Alabama. I really like this St. John's squad. You mentioned DeRosa, if Aiden Holloway, he missed first game, he's going to come back and he's going to play a major game and play a major role against a defensive, tough-ass St. John's squad. That's pretty much a home game for St. John's. That's not a good debut, in my opinion, for him, coming back off an injury. So, like, I don't know if that's going to fare well for him. I would like to see him got some playing time against when they played their first game against who they played. They played North Dakota.
Yep.
I would like to see him get some minutes. He did not play at all. He's coming back against this St. John's squad that I think is going to go after him defensively. And also that, listen, I mean, St. John's gave up 74 points to Quinnipiac, which is kind of concerning, but they put up 108 points. A Rick Pitino team, majority defensive-minded, put up 108 points that shot 42% from 3. You mentioned great offense versus great defense. Majority of the times, great offense normally beats great defense. But if you give a great defense, a team that has Eon Jackson on the floor, which I'm a big fan of. I think he's going to play very well in this game. But if you give a great defensive team the ability just to hit shots like they did against in the opening game against Quinnipiac, I think it's going to make it very difficult for Alabama to win this game. And I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of Laverian Philon. I just don't think guard play they have enough to beat St. John's. And I'm a big fan of Ian Jackson. I think Bryce Hopkins definitely did not look well in his first game, but I think Zuby Ejiofor, Dylan Mitchell, those two monsters is going to be difficult for Alabama to stop. I don't think they have the front court to stop them, and I think a guy like Joseph Sanan coming off the bench who had 14 points in 19 minutes against Quinnipiac, I think he's going to be a big key for this. Alabama, St. John's, belt to ass for St. John's.
We've got another big one on Saturday night where number 15 Arkansas heads to East Lansing to the Breslin Center to play number 24 Michigan State. Both teams winners in opening game. Arkansas blows out Southern University. Michigan State squeaks by Colgate at home 80-69. I'll say this, and I'll keep this short and simple. Give Corral credit because he never, especially in November, never takes his team in a true road environment. This will be a hostile environment. We know how the Breslin Center can get. But Tom Izzo said something. I don't remember if it's the pre-game or the pre-presser leading into this game or if he said it a few weeks ago. I can't remember. But basically said when asked about this game, he goes, boy, Cal must think my team's not very good because he never plays games like this. And I think Cal knows his team is really good. They blew out Southern in the opening game without Carter Knox. It'll be interesting to see if Knox is healthy enough to be eligible for or be ready to play in this game. But Arkansas's guards, they were making shots. Trevon Brazile running the floor, doing all the in and out stuff that he does, blocking shots at the rim. Their bigs didn't play well, but their guards in the front court in particular with Trevon Brazile looked amazing. Malik Thomas comes off the bench as just an instant microwave score. I just think they've got too much offense, and they're tough and old. This is a classic Cal team where they're going to push and transition. They're going to be stout defensively. If Michigan State can't unlock their defense by hitting some threes or getting them in foul trouble, getting downhill to the rim, I don't see Michigan State surviving but maybe 25 minutes where it's close, competitive in this game. I think with or without Carter Knox, Arkansas looks to make a statement. Their guards are simply better. They have the better team, and I think Cal knows it. I've got Arkansas big. Michigan State's the favorite if you see the betting line right now across all the betting sites. 1.5 points. Take Arkansas to run away with this one. I see a double-digit victory. It may be close for a while, but I think the Hogs get to calling them in East Lansing. I've got Arkansas by 10 plus.
I'm not going to go as far as Josh is, but I do think Arkansas wins this game. I think they're substantially more talented. I kind of agree with Cal. I don't really like this Michigan State team that much.
I don't either.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go as far as Josh did, but it seems like we're going to have a round of Arkansas, which is scary.
Yeah, I know. I am going to go as far as Josh does because I think Arkansas is going to win by 10 plus or more. I think they'll win by double digits. I think athleticism, they have it. 3-point shooting, it seems like they have it. And if Carter Knox plays, they have enough talent to, crazy as it seems, could potentially compete for a SEC title. And who knows, maybe make a run for the Final Four coming out their Sweet 16 appearance last year. And as far as Michigan State goes, it's the same issues it's been for the last 5 years, outside really last year. 3-point shooting, they just can't hit enough shots. They shot 28% against Colgate. They struggled to even win that game. They were up 37-34 heading into halftime. They only won by 11, 80-69 against Colgate. I like Cohen Carr. I like Jamie Fears, but even then, I think Jamie Fears is pretty inconsistent when it comes to big-time games like this. The unsung hero, though, is it is in East Lansing. It is in the home backcourt, which is a very difficult place to play at, but listen, big game Cal normally shows up in games like this, especially early on, and especially against Michigan State. He has their number for whatever reason why it is. He has Tom Izzo's number in these big-time games early on this season. Arkansas by 12.
One more I want to talk about. Saturday night, late night game out in the West Coast, played at Spokane Arena, 10:30 p.m. on ESPN2. Gonzaga, number 18 in the ECB Top 25, playing host to Oklahoma. Both teams 1-0. Winners of their opening games. Gonzaga favored by 10.5 points. Oklahoma in their opening game win against St. Francis University puts 5 people in double figures. Nigel Pack debut for the team, 16 points. Xavier Brown, 16. Mo Wagu, 16 and 10. They win 102-66, made 11 threes. Gonzaga getting Tyon Grant Foster eligible obviously helps his team. They win over Texas Southern 98-43. Good defensive performance, typical offensive output you would expect. It's still the problem we had with Gonzaga last year, DeRosa. You remember this because we talked about it all year last year. It's their 3-point shooting. Opening game, blowout by 55 points, only 7 of 22 from the 3-point line. Is this going to be a concern again for Gonzaga where it's just like, man, they'll put up a bunch of numbers, but you can't trust them from deep in big games?
My concern with them is point guard play. I don't know if Braden Smith is really ready to take that huge step up and be like a legit starting point guard on this team. Like, I think they'll have a very good front court with EK and Huff. I think those guys are going to be awesome. TGF, if he's like fully eligible this season, again, that's a guy who can put the ball in the bucket. But the backcourt to me, Emmanuel Nicenti is fine. Braden Smith, meh. Adam Miller is a guy we've seen at 8 different schools. They once said he will never enter the transfer portal again and then enter the transfer portal again. And Jalen Worley is also just fine. So the guards are where I have concern with this team. I'm going to be pretty brief here. I think they win. I don't think they cover. Give me Gonzaga by like 7 or 8 points.
I'm the same way. I'll exact same spread. I think Gonzaga wins backyard, but I think Oklahoma keeps it close.
Yeah, we're gonna sweep that. I agree. Same margin and everything. I just feel like this Gonzaga's team is very underwhelming this year. They're not gonna be able to hit enough shots. I don't think 3-point wise they're gonna be able to put enough points as they have in years past. I agree with DeRosa. I think they have a point guard issue. And I will say, even though it was confusing keeping up with this year, it's good to see Tyon Grant Foster actually get his eligibility back, even though it's confusing as fuck to keep up with. I will say that with NCAA, their bullshit rulings, but I like Braden Smith, but I just don't think he's going to be good enough to really run this offense the way marquee wants to run this offense. So depth-wise is an issue. Gonzaga wins, and I don't feel great about it.
It's definitely a change of pace from having both Nembhard brothers like the last 19 years. Yep. So,
and he's the second best point guard in the country named Braden Smith.
Mm-hmm. He has been, even dating back to where was it?
Colgate.
So one last one before we round out here with shout outs and get out of here. We don't have to go in depth. Just give me a prediction. Sunday, this game will be going on about the time we're recording, so we won't get do a full breakdown of it. Indiana goes to Chicago to play Marquette. Both teams 1-0. Indiana looked amazing last night. Who wins? Give me a score real quick.
Indiana by 14. I don't like this Marquette team. I don't think it's very good. I think it's, again, like I mentioned, Gonzaga, very underwhelming Marquette squad in this Indiana time. I watched a little bit of that game in the opening night, But I went going to bed early, wasn't feeling that way. But I did watch some highlights. Their ball passing, the movement on the floor, they're able to hit shots now. Darian DeVries was the right coach for this Indiana squad. They're going to be electrifying to watch this year. Indiana by 14, belt to ass. The Hoosiers beat the shit out of Marquette in Chicago.
Does Indiana play any zone? I watched Marquette's game last night.
No, they man.
No,
they
they're
man.
strictly man to man.
I'm going to go, and it's on a neutral. I think Marquette's just going to – this is a weird one because I think Indiana's going to be a better team this year. I think Marquette's going to get him this game.
Oh.
I think it's a tough matchup. I'm going to go Marquette by like 4 or 5 points. I really think just the defensive aggression, I think it's really going to like kind of bother an Indiana team that I don't think yet has that physical toughness. I think Marquette's going to bring out of them. I really liked what I saw from Nigel James last night, and Chase Ross looks like a fucking monster. I think Marquette wins this game.
Interesting. I'm going to go Indiana. I'll say not as much as Peyton. I think it's a close game. I'll go Indiana by 7. Again, kind of late where it gets stretched out, free throws late in this game, but I go Indiana. Let's round this episode out with shout outs. I'll make mine short and simple. We'll stay on the Indiana theme. Shout out Sam Alexis. That kid watched him at Florida, and of course he was stuck behind Houck and Condon and even handlogged him when he got back, and he just did not see the floor a ton. When he did, it was very much just a spot minute so the other bigs could come back in. 19 minutes, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. He had a plus-minus of plus 21, made a 3-point shot, made all of his free throws. He looked amazing last night. And he has a really cool story as well. So what a pickup he's been seemingly for Indiana, getting his chance to shine, bet on himself, and is really showing out. So I will shout out Sam Alexis. My other one, shout out Hawaii Pacific. D2 school, goes to Boise State, who's actually been a really good mid-major the last 10 years, and pulls off the upset in enemy territory on opening night to give us some craziness to kick off the college basketball season right from the get-go. And then I'll shout out Colin Chandler for that just insane dunk. For nothing else, SportsCenter #1 play, white man can jump apparently. Just don't jump with Colin Chandler or he'll snatch your soul. So those are my 3 shout-outs.
I got 2. 1, shout out IU Indy. They play a very fun style. Shout out to them. 2, a debut 3 years in the making. Shout out Steel Venters. Wasn't able to play 2 years ago. He last played in 2023 with Eastern Washington, then he transferred to Gonzaga. Wasn't able to play in 2024. Wasn't able to play in 2025. He was able to play his first minutes for Gonzaga the other day. So those are my 2 shout outs.
Love it.
I've got 3. Shout out to Kenai Roos from Louisville. I think his jump from last year to this year, I think he's going to play a huge part in our team this year and be a big reason why we're a potential Final Four team and potential chances of winning the ACC regular season this year. Big improvement out of him. His ability to hit shots now is very important for us, and big fan of him and how well he played against South Carolina State the other night. So shout out to him. Shout out to all the freshmen in the country that just balled out. I think this is probably the best freshman class I've seen in a long time of my history of watching college basketball.
It's one of the best in the last 20 years.
Koa Pete, his 30 points against Florida, the defending champions, shined throughout all the freshmen. When Nate Emmett played well in his debut for Tennessee, Darius Acap Jr. played well in his debut for Arkansas. Obviously, the 3-headed monster, Gabonsa from BYU, Cam Boozer from Duke, and Darren Peterson from Kansas. All those freshmen, and Michael Brown had a decent stat line against South Carolina State. Just all the freshmen that just balled out game 1, opening night. Just, my God, this freshman class is insane, incredible. Next year's draft is going to be incredible to watch and pay attention to. Shout out to those guys. My 3rd shout out goes to, honestly, I'm going to go shout out Darian DeVries. I think he's in for a very special team this year with Indiana. I think he's going to do big things this year, and I think they're one of my underdogs to potentially make a second weekend this year. And I think they could potentially finish top 4 in the Big Ten. Just don't tell Flop that. Hopefully he's not listening to this. I don't want to, give him a big ego coming into work tomorrow morning. But no, I like this Indiana squad. I really like this Indiana squad, and I think Darian DeVries is just going to do special things at Indiana and really bring them back to the national front, which they deserve to be at, and hopefully they get back to it very soon. Shout out to
Love it. Love it, man. College basketball is back. Our lives are consumed by it now, and we thank you all. This Thursday night episode, starting now, we will be back, as I mentioned, top of the show, 2 nights a week in your ear holes and seeing our beautiful faces on Thursdays and Sundays. Sundays are the big show. Thursdays are the midweek show. We appreciate everybody who tunes in. We've got the Spotify back up and running. I finally got it updated after I got logged in. So Spotify will be updated every time a new episode comes out. So make sure you check that out on Spotify, on Apple, anywhere you get your podcast feeds at. But we're back. College basketball is back. We get to talk about action. We get to break it down. We've got incredible games this weekend. Sunday we'll get a preview of one of the best rivalries in the sport. It's an exciting time for DeRosa, for Peyton, and myself. We hope you guys enjoyed episode 236. And until Sunday, we will catch you guys down the road. Peace.